All right, welcome back, everybody. Episode number 18 of the Plumecast. Thank you again all for stopping by. This is my weekly gaming podcast where I talk about stuff in the news that I didn't get to in my weekly videos. And if there's something that I just really want to double down on, like I did last week, I will talk about it as well here on the Plumecast. But overall, it hasn't been too much of a crazy week. The gaming news this week was pretty dead, but a lot of interesting stuff I did cover in my videos throughout the week, so make sure to go check that out. Not too many topics on the slate today, as I will be talking about going in further into depth into the PlayStation 5 numbers that they announced at their investors call with the sales and all that kind of stuff. I reached 5K subscribers this week, which I never thought I was gonna get there, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited for the future of this channel. I'm gonna go over, just talk about the channel and show you off some sneak peeks of some stuff that I'm going to be releasing soon, and I'd love to get your feedback on that stuff. And also want to talk about a couple of Xbox things, like a new quality of life feature and something very weird going on with Unity and Xbox. So those will be the three things that I go over in this week's Plumecast. So yeah, stay tuned for all of that. But before we get into it, as I do every single week, I drink a beer on the Plumecast because beer and video games go great together. And this week I have a very, very interesting one. It is a Hawaiian style pale ale, and it is from Spearhead Brewing Company. Now, this says here on the back that it is a bold, hoppy West Coast pale ale brewed Hawaiian style with pineapple. I absolutely love pineapple, so I'm sure I'm going to love the beer. And it is unfiltered and dry hopped to provide a delicate and complex flavor and bouquet. It's perfectly imbalanced pale ale, has a fresh citrusy character with hints of tropical fruit zest and pine, and a refreshing dry finish. Now, when it comes to beer, I generally am not the biggest fan of like fruity beers. I like a more like beer tasting beer, if that makes any sense. Like I like a deeper taste, or I don't know, like a lager, a pilsner, an ale. But I'm not the biggest fan of the citrusy stuff. So I don't know, but I do love pineapple. So we'll have to wait and see how I like this one. And yeah, it is a beer from, let's see here, proudly brewed and canned in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. So anybody here watching from Kingston, Ontario, let me know if you've had this before. Let me know if you know about Spearhead Brewing Company. But very interesting. I like the can, Hawaiian pineapple. Could be very good. Let me know what you guys are drinking this week. Let me know suggestions in the comments below of what beers you've had that you think are good, and I will try and check those out. Now, in terms of what I've been playing this week, it's been The Ascent, which I'm absolutely loving. Very cool atmosphere, environment, cyberpunk, very deep RPG mechanics, good gameplay, and overall, I can't wait to like continue to explore it. Like, you have side quests, you have the main quests, you have lots of gear. The gear I think looks really, really cool. Even like the first gear you get with like it's like I don't know if everyone gets the same first gear, but like a VR headset kind of thing. It's just very imaginative, and I love the cyberpunk vibe of it. And then I randomly jumped into playing Need for Speed Heat, and honestly, it's actually a good game. It's actually a fun game. I thought that game got shit on a lot, but I was playing it, and like the driving mechanics are fun. I like the drifting where you double tap the trigger and everything. The graphics are good. The story, it's a Need for Speed story. It's nothing crazy, but it's entertaining somewhat. It's like a kind of like a Fast and Furious kind of vibe I get from it. But yeah, I jumped into that. I think it's because last week I talked about how, or maybe not last week on the Plumecast, but in a video, maybe it was this week as well, but it was how Codemasters is putting a bunch of games on to Xbox Game Pass through EA Play, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna go through and just see what EA racing games are out there right now, and I just downloaded Need for Speed Heat and started playing it, and it's a fun game. I'm probably gonna continue to play it, which I haven't played a Need for Speed game in a very long time, so that was interesting. But those are pretty much the two games that I've been playing. And hoping to get through a lot more of The Ascent this week coming up as well. But let me know what you guys are playing in the comments below. And with that being said, let's jump into this week's topics. All right, so to kick off this week's episode, I wanted to talk about the PlayStation 5 sales numbers and all of the stuff that they recently put out on their most recent investors call, giving us a lot of information. I talked about this a little bit on a video earlier this week, just kind of how Sony is recognizing that putting their games on other platforms, aka putting their games on PC and putting MLB The Show on Xbox and making it available as well through Xbox Game Pass, how it is really helping them. Now, on that video, a lot of people were in the comments saying that it's kind of like Sony taking the credit for something they didn't want to do because the MLB forced their hand to put MLB The Show on other platforms. And yeah, now I think about it, I definitely agree with that. I don't think Sony would have put MLB The Show on Xbox if it wasn't for the MLB, and it definitely would not have put it on to Xbox Game Pass if they had full say in whether that was going to be allowed or not. I think that the MLB and Xbox discussed that, created a deal. Xbox presented their case for why the MLB and why MLB The Show should be on Xbox Game Pass, and I think that's how the deal got created. And I don't think Sony really had too much of a say in it. And I think that's what also came out later on in the news about MLB The Show, was that Sony didn't really have a say as to whether the game was going to come out onto Xbox Game Pass or not. And I know there were a lot of debates about that, but that's the way that it seems like it went. But besides all of that stuff, we got some more numbers about the PlayStation 5 and how right now it is selling extremely well. And when it comes to sales in terms of consoles and the so-called console war, sales for the Xbox side of thing, console unit sales don't matter. Like, they really don't matter. We know that Xbox's strategy is to get as many people out on to the ecosystem as possible, and they don't care where you play. But I still like to talk about the amount of Xboxes sold, mainly for the fact that when the Xbox Series X and S were announced, when the Xbox ecosystem and Game Pass came out, and Xbox said that they were going to be putting their first party games day and date on Xbox Game Pass, and that could be accessed through PC or through the console, a lot of people thought this was going to cannibalize the console sales. And my initial reaction to that was, I don't think it's going to do that at all. We're going to see that the exclusivity thing isn't as big of a deal that people make it out to be. It's really just a marketing ploy. That's really all it is. Like, that's what exclusive games are. They're a marketing avenue to get people to go out and buy your console. And Xbox has proven that, hey, we can put our exclusive games on other platforms and the consoles themselves are still going to sell very well, as the Xbox Series X and S has still sold extremely well because of the value proposition that the Series X and S provides. And it is the, in my opinion, best way to access Xbox Game Pass, easiest way to access Xbox Game Pass. And I think the optimal experience if you're going to be playing any of the first party Xbox games, even when comparing it to PC. That's just the way I see it, because I love console. I love playing with the controller. I love sitting back on my couch playing console, or even just playing console on a monitor. To me, it's just an easier experience, and I don't have to go through any of the settings, and it's just right there. But I also enjoy sometimes tinkering with PC games and seeing what my graphics card and CPU and all that kind of stuff, what my rig can output. So I like both, but in general, I do like the console more. But when it comes to PlayStation, it's the exact opposite strategy. To them, sales matters, because sales is the only thing that they have to rely on in order to make money. They need to be able to sell as many consoles as possible so they can further on and push their software on as many people as possible. Now, when it comes to the PlayStation 5, previously they had stood at, they say here, 7.8 million units sold. And now they're saying within this quarter, they sold another 2.3 million PlayStation 5. So 2.3 million PlayStation 5 consoles shipped during April to June. So the PS5 now sits at about 10.1 million units, which means that the PS5 is selling extremely well. And it doesn't really matter if, well, actually it does matter. I take that back. It does matter if a lot of these consoles are bought by scalpers, because if a lot of these numbers for sales are bought by scalpers, then they're going to have a lot of consoles just sitting there not being used to access the PlayStation Network and make purchases where Sony makes pretty much all of their money. But out of the 10.1 million units, I still think a large majority of those are within users' homes that are purchasing games on PSN. And I could be completely wrong. It's hard to tell how many like units are still sitting in scalpers' homes who are trying to sell them for thousands of dollars. But let's just look at it as they've sold 10.1 million units, and they're doing great with their console sales. So their strategy has continued to work. It's continued to roll over into this generation from the last generation. As we know, the PS4 sold very, very well, one of the best-selling Sony consoles, and the PS5 is something that I think, as we continue to go through this generation, if it's selling well now, when I think the PS5 itself right now is not a console worth buying at all. Like, I really don't think it is, because of the fact that you don't really have too much first party stuff to sink a lot of time into, to put lots of hours into. And a lot of the big games that were supposed to come out in 2021, like Horizon, Forbidden West, but they said God of War was going to be coming in 2021, Gran Turismo, those have all been delayed until 2022. So I think that if you don't have a PS5, there's absolutely no rush right now to get one until they're more readily available. And I would definitely advise purchasing it from a scalper. But let's take a look at some of the other numbers and some of the other stuff that PlayStation is doing here. So when we look at their game sales right now, their full game sales, they have sold 63.6 million games across the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5 during this quarter, which, if you compare it to last year at the same time, it's substantially down, which it was 91.4 million, which it makes sense because, like I said, there isn't that much to buy on the PlayStation 5, so people are going to be buying such. And I believe last June, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe last June 2020 was when The Last of Us 2 came out, so that was a big seller, obviously, for the PlayStation 4 specifically, which would boost a lot of their sales. Now, when they talk here about total first-party game sales, they've reached 10.5 million for this latest quarter, compared to 18.7 million during their Q1 of fiscal year 2020. Again, makes sense that it's down. What has come out recently in April to June, Ratchet and Clank is the only thing that come out. And as we see, if we go down here further, Ratchet and Clank only accounts for about 1 million of the sales of that 10.5 million. So they're not going to be getting anywhere close to that 18.7 million comparing it to last year. Now, they also disclosed that 71% of the games sold on the PS4 and the PS5 were sold digitally. So if you still think for any second here that we aren't in the digital age of gaming, again, more numbers to prove that the physical games are pretty much done with. I mean, Sony wants to push you into the PlayStation Network. They want you to purchase all their stuff through PSN because they control all the prices. They have 100% control over everything that you're going to be able to purchase and the pricing of that stuff. And we've seen like a lot of bad things come out of that, especially with games from indie developers, where a couple of months ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I forget when it was, but that indie developer came out and complained how they couldn't even like set sales on their games within PlayStation Network unless, I guess, PlayStation approved it, whereas they could have those sales on Steam, no problem. So there was always that price disparity. And that's the kind of bad thing about having that monopoly of your digital storefront. There's just absolutely no way that you're going to be able to get sales unless Sony puts those sales out. And for all they want to do, they could literally never drop prices in games. Now, they do put sales out. I've seen sales all the time on the PlayStation Network when I go on my PS5. But if they really want to, you've seen it before. Like, you've seen prices of physical PlayStation games drop in price faster than digital PlayStation games. And that's why I would never want to get a digital PS5, because I play the first party games on PlayStation. That's it. I play all my third party games on my Xbox, but I play the first party games, I beat them, and then I sell them because, I mean, they're very expensive now. They're also $10 more than they were last generation, and they only last about 10 to 15 to 20 hours. So once you're done with it, you can sell it and get your money back. So the digital thing here, we're really in the digital age, and 71% is a large number, and Sony is probably very, very happy to see that less and less people are now going out to buy physical games, and that's why they released that digital version of the PS5, because they want more people to buy the digital version of the PS5. They don't want people really buying the physical version. It costs them more to make with the disc drive, and they have the opportunity to go out and buy a physical disc and then resell it. Now, in terms of PlayStation Plus users, this part's pretty interesting. And it really does, again, further show what I've been thinking, what I've been saying, and not just me, but just like in general. But I've talked about this on previous podcasts and probably in videos as well. But what they're saying here is that 46.3, so memberships grew to 46.3 million during the quarter, which is up 45 million during the same quarter last year. But the total monthly active users hit 104 million compared to 114 million last year. So you look at that, and to me, that tells me that so the PlayStation Plus members have been growing. There's more PlayStations out there in the wild, and there should technically, because of that, be more active users all the time compared to last year. That just, to me, makes logical sense. More PlayStations out there, more PlayStation Plus members, there should be more active users comparing it to the same time period. Well, that obviously isn't the case. And again, that points to the fact that there isn't that much enticing right now with the PS5. People are rushing out to get a PS5. People are super excited. They're hyped up for the console because, let's be real, PlayStation has done an absolutely great job for growing the loyalty of their fan base, growing their consumers to just kind of buy whatever they put out and not even think about it. And that's like an entire business strategy that, whether you like PlayStation or not, whether you think it's right or not, I think it's really stupid. I think that like people should, whether you're on Xbox or whether you're on PlayStation, you should always kind of judge everything that's put it out and make sure that if you're spending your hard-earned money, that it's hard-earned money that you're giving to a developer, a company or something that's deserved, right? That's just the way I see it. But with PlayStation, I think a lot of people just, PS5, they don't care about any of the quality of life features that are missing. They don't care about the memory. They don't care about the SSD stuff. They don't care about some of the videos coming out comparing the Xbox and the PS5 in terms of the quality of it and like the heat and all that kind of stuff. They just see PS5. It's like the cool, trendy console, and they want to go out and buy it. And I think these types of numbers are showing that people are going out buying the PlayStation 5. They're paying for the PlayStation Plus membership, but they aren't active on it. And I mean, that could also be at the same time because maybe last year, I'm not going to rule this out, but maybe last year COVID was like rampant more than it is now. I mean, COVID is still around. However, there's a lot of places that are opened up right now. I know for where I live, we were in a lockdown for a while. We're open now, but I think last year at this time during the summer, we weren't in I could be wrong. Don't quote me on this, but I think last year during April to June, for at least some of it, we were open as well, but I can't remember. But that could also play a major role in it. People are kind of just going out more and life's slowly starting to get back to normal. But it's a mixture of all things. I just think that it's interesting how there's more PlayStation 5s, there's more PS Plus memberships, but active users are down. And again, I just think that goes back a lot to many different things, but just the fact that there isn't just too much to play right now on PlayStation, on PS5, and yes, I'm mainly referring to the first party stuff because that's what is the seller for PlayStation, is their first party content. That's what they use to sell and push their consoles. Now, when it comes to Sony's game and network services division, which houses the PlayStation business, it saw a total increase of about 2%, so a small increase, while operating income dropped more substantially. Sony said that the downturn was attributable in part to a decrease in sales of non-first-party titles and DLC, as well as the deterioration of operating results for hardware. So it could be attributed to non-first-party titles and DLC, meaning that people aren't, I guess, looking to go out and buy third-party games on their PlayStation. And you can really see that Sony, they see stuff like this. They see numbers like this where operating income has dropped because people aren't going out instantly and buying third-party games on PlayStation. They're buying it on other platforms. They're buying it on Xbox. They're buying it on PC. They're buying it on the Nintendo Switch. I think that will incentivize them even more to want to put their games out on other platforms, because they're going to be able to make that money where they wouldn't be able to make if that person didn't buy a PlayStation 5. And I think that's the big thing. And they talk about that lower down with the putting their games on PC and putting their games on other platforms. Then continue on here to say that the PS5 continues to be sold at a loss resulting from strategic price points for PlayStation 5 hardware that were set lower than the manufacturing costs. However, I also see this article here from TechRadar saying that PS5 has only just stopped losing money for Sony, but that's normal. So apparently they are out of the red, saying that Sony's disc-based PlayStation 5 is no longer selling at a loss, according to the company's chief financial officer. And Bloomberg reports that Hiroki Totoki, the CFO, shared the news at Sony's recent earnings briefing, which comes shortly after the Japanese tech giant confirmed the PS5 is now the fastest selling PlayStation system of all time. So they're now slowly getting out of the red. It took a longer time than it did for the PlayStation 4. It makes sense. The PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, when they came out, were already pretty weak consoles. They were already using outdated technology. The PS5, the Xbox Series X are using much more powerful technology, much more modern technology from their release. So it's going to take them longer to get out of the red from selling these consoles at a loss. But that's like so important for Sony, because they need to be able to make money on their consoles, because that's their entire strategy. And you compare it, and one of the big things holding them back is the chip shortage. I mean, that's a huge problem with this strategy, where your strategy is to push consoles onto people, but there's a chip shortage that is kind of out of your control because of the state of the world. It's going to take longer for you to start making money off that. Whereas with the Xbox strategy, they don't need to worry about that as much because of that ecosystem. Now, what also is negatively impacting Sony's games business was the decrease in PlayStation 4 unit sales. PlayStation, I mean, makes sense. These consoles are slowly getting phased out, although they're still going to be supported for a number of years, especially the PlayStation. I mean, they supported like the PS2 for like so long. I think the last PS2 game came out in like 2011. Nope, check that. The actual last PS2 game was released in 2013. November 8th, 2013. Pro Evolution Soccer 2014 was released. So I mean, and the PS2, I believe, is the best selling home console of all time. So because there are so many units out there, that's why they continue to support it. And because the PlayStation 4 sold so well, they're going to continue to support it for a very, very long time. So that's just to be expected. Now, finally, they provided a breakdown, a chart of the sales of PlayStation games, and this one's pretty interesting. I mean, some of their best sellers, like Spider-Man Miles Morales, has sold 6.5 million units, probably mostly on PlayStation 4. But then you look down at their most recent releases. So you have Returnal, which apparently they called a mega hit, but it only sold 500,000 units. Then you have Ratchet & Clank to Rift Apart, which has sold 1.1 million units. Now, yes, that you could say from when it was released to now is a lot. That's a million units. That's a lot of units. However, there are 10.1 million PlayStation 5 sold. And Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is their main big blockbuster this year. Like, that's it. There's nothing really else coming out that's going to be their big blockbuster. So 1.1 million units with 10.5 or 10.1 million PS5 units out in the wild. To me, that doesn't seem that like successful. You'd think there would need to be more for them to really be satisfied with Rift Apart, with Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Although they said they've surpassed or met their expectations or whatever, they were happy with it. It doesn't add up to me, because 10.1 million units, and it could go back to the fact that a lot of these units are being held by scalpers. So maybe there's 5 million people who actually have a PlayStation 5 in their hands. I know that's a bit of an exaggeration, but maybe that's why. I just don't think that 1.1 million units sold of a game that is your big system seller, like that, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is the system seller for the PlayStation 5. When there's 10.1 million units sold, I don't see how that is something that exceeds expectations. But hey, I don't work at PlayStation, I don't work at Sony, but it is interesting. And I played Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and I've said before, Ratchet and Clank is one of my favorite franchises. I've played every single Ratchet and Clank from the PS2. I love it. I really enjoyed Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. I found it short. I didn't think it was worth $90 in Canada or $100 after tax because of the length of the game and the replayability of it. But it was a very beautiful looking game, an extremely fun playing game in terms of gameplay, and it was a good time. So it's a great game, but 1.1 million use just doesn't seem like it's, when there's 10.1 million PS5s out there, something that is too crazy. But hey, that's just what I see on it. So overall, I mean, the numbers in general for PlayStation, the big success for PlayStation 5 right now is just the amount of units sold, because that's what they have to do with their strategy. 10.1 million PlayStation 5s sold, I think, is something that they will be happy about. And if they could produce more units, if it wasn't for the chip shortage, if it wasn't for the state of the world, they probably would have more units sold than the 10.1 million units. That's just the way that I see it, especially with all of the hype and all of the fandom around the PlayStation 5. But let me know what you guys think about all of these numbers in the comments below. Let me know what you think about my thoughts on some of this stuff and what you think, and if you think I'm wrong, right, crazy, whatever, and just let's talk about it. All right, so this next part of the Plumecast is going to be more just about my channel and the fact that I have reached 5,000 subscribers this past week. And from the bottom of my heart, the first thing I want to do is just thank you guys, thank the community, for everybody who comes and watches and engages on my channels and writes comments, or even if you don't write comments, if you're subscribed, or even if you're not subscribed and you just come in and you listen every week. I honestly thank you so much for helping my channel get to 5,000 subscribers. I've been making videos on this channel for 4 years. Started back in 2017, and it took a lot of hard work and a lot of time to get to this point, to 5K subscribers. I never thought I was going to make it here, but over the last year or so, I've seen my channel start to gain traction, and it really means a lot to me that you guys come in and you tune in, because I can see it in just the numbers itself, that it seems like you guys are enjoying the content that I'm making. And I absolutely love doing this. I love making videos. I love talking about stuff that's going on within the news. I love talking about what's going on within the Xbox and the Xbox community. It's a ton of fun. I wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be making a video every single day if it wasn't fun, and if like you guys didn't enjoy it as well, because yes, it's a ton of fun, but it's definitely a lot harder to do when nobody is watching, which I did for a very long time. And now that people are watching, it's just like, I couldn't get any better. So honestly, thank you guys so much for that. I really do mean it. I know you hear that from every single YouTuber who grows, who reaches a milestone. And I always thought it was all just like BS, and they were just saying that to get people to like them and stuff like that. But no, I honestly now believe them when they say it, because it really does mean a lot that you guys watch, because without you guys watching, this channel wouldn't be growing and this community just wouldn't be here. And from pretty much the beginning, I would say that when I started this channel, and especially within the last like 2 years or so, I've really wanted to make sure that I created some sort of positive outlet, some sort of positive addition to the internet, some sort of positive vibe, a positive community overall, because there's so much negativity on the internet. It's really, really easy to be negative. Yeah, I'm a positive guy. Yeah, I like a lot of stuff, and I don't like doing the fake outrage stuff. I don't get outraged about many things, but in reality, I'm still a human being, and I can be negative as easily as the next person. But that's not what my goal for this channel is. My goal is to give my honest opinions, first of all. That's like the number one thing. Give my honest opinions. Don't like just say things that everybody else is saying so that people can agree with me. And then to stay positive with the way I speak about stuff, and to not just get into the stupid console wars that mean absolutely nothing. Yeah, I talk about Xbox, but I don't care. I don't care at all what people prefer to play on. You can play on PlayStation, play on PC, play on Nintendo. You can still be playing on the Super Nintendo. I don't give a shit. It really doesn't matter to me. But what I do like to do is create some videos which create interesting topics to talk about. And I see a lot of the discussions in the comments below. Some people will come in here and say that my comment section is console, or I'm making a video for Console Wars, which I'm not, I look at the comments and I would say that the vast majority of comments in my videos are good discussion. People who have just different opinions and people having back and forths about it. And but then you obviously you have people who like to come in and troll and whatever. And here's the thing, to all the trolls out there watching me, I could not care less what you say about me, what you say to me, what insults you throw at me. I don't get offended literally from anything. I know a lot of people get offended very easily these days. Like you could literally just be yourself and say a passing comment that you don't think is offensive and somebody will get triggered by it. But like, I don't get offended by anything. You can call me any name in the book. I don't care. I'm not saying to do that. You shouldn't be calling people names and stuff like that. What I'm saying is, for me personally, I don't get triggered. I don't get offended. And I think that's one of the most important things when you're making videos on the internet, when you're putting yourself out there on the internet, is that you got to just ignore trolls and you can't be offended by anything anybody says, because you're going to just drive yourself nuts. And luckily, my demeanor has always been like that, that it just, well, whatever, rolls off my back. Someone thinks I'm stupid, someone thinks I'm an idiot, someone disagrees with my opinion. Yeah, sometimes I will come back at the comments, very rarely, and just kind of try to turn that crazy negativity into a better discussion. But 99% of the time, I just don't care what negative stuff people say. And I think that's a big part of trying to grow a positive community too, is just not engaging with the trolls. And yeah, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I will, but in general, I think I do a good job at that. And which I've seen in my comments, that it brings people who don't troll. Like it brings like people who just actually want to have discussions. And that's my goal with this community. Now, with all of that rambling, with all of that stuff out of the way, now that I've reached 5,000 subscribers, I definitely want to give back to you guys. And I've said in a post earlier that I'm going to be doing a giveaway, and I am going to be doing a giveaway. It's just been an insanely crazy week, and it's coming. It's going to not be like, I'm not going to be giving away like anything massive, but I want to give some stuff away to as many people as I can, or at least more than one person. And I think the best way to do that is to do something like giving away couple Game Pass subscriptions for like, I don't know, whatever tier they have, maybe like 3 months or a month, I'm not sure. Maybe some game codes. I'll be completely honest with you. I've as you guys know, I'm part of the Ubisoft Canada Guild, so I'm reaching out to them and seeing if maybe, hey, they'll give me some codes for some Ubisoft games, and hopefully they can work with me on that, and I can get a bunch and just give them out to you guys as a giveaway. But if that doesn't come through, not a big deal. I'm still gonna find other things, maybe some like Microsoft Store points to give away so you guys can buy some games. Or if there are like some specific games that you guys want and I pick a winner, maybe I'll just ask you, hey, what game do you want? And I'll buy it for you on the Xbox Store. The only thing is I need to know your region to make sure that you get the game in that region, because I believe you have to have an account on Xbox in the region that you buy the game from. Not 100% sure. So gonna do that and try to give back to multiple people rather than just one person, because this is 5,000 subscribers. I have 5,030 some supporters right now, and I really appreciate you guys out there. So I don't want to just give one person all of the glory of the contest. Now, on top of that, I want to give you guys a sneak peek about some merch that I'm going to be putting out. I would say within the next month or so. I'm going to be putting out some t-shirts, probably some hats, and then some other things like maybe like a bottle opener for beer, because as we know, I like to drink beer and play video games. So I'm going to give you a quick sneak peek of this, and yeah, just take a look at it. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. There's absolutely no obligation to spend any money on this channel. That's not why I'm doing it, but I think the designs are pretty cool. And let me know what you think about it in the comments below. So here is the first design, and as you can tell, this represents video games and beer. I mean, every week on the Plumecast, I drink beer, so you guys know that I love beer. And I love just sitting down at the end of a long day of work, cracking open beer, sitting back on the couch and playing games. And I think it's like part of this community now, because in my Plumecast every single week, people are telling me the beers that they're drinking, giving me suggestions, and it's awesome to see. So this is the first design. It's going to be coming on a t-shirt in multiple colors, and I'm going to put like the controller and the beer on a bottle opener. I think I can do that, and then could have like maybe a Plume Network bottle opener, probably on hats and stuff. And yeah, I think it's a pretty neat design. I honestly think would wear it, but let me know what you guys think, if this is something you would be interested in purchasing. And with the t-shirts specifically, the reason why, like, I have the designs ready, I could launch everything tomorrow if I wanted to, but I want to wait. I'm going to buy the product, the shirts first, the hat, all that type of stuff first, because I want to see it. I want to make sure that if you guys decide to spend your hard-earned money on merch to support the Plume Network and support me, I want to make sure that you guys are getting like quality stuff. Like I have so I bought 2 shirts from the Xbox Gear Store. I have my Halo Infinite shirt, which I'm sure you've seen in my videos, with like this thick, it's like a thick shirt, and it's like the prints and everything is really nice on it. And then I have one that I just got this week, finally, after like 2 months. I don't know why it took so long, but it's another Halo shirt, but it represents the Fan Fest, and it's a very thin shirt, and the quality could be okay. I'm not saying that if it's thin, it's bad quality, because I'm not really sure how that works when it comes to apparel, but it's a thin shirt. It seems a lot cheaper, and I don't want these shirts to be like that thin one. I'd rather them be a bit thicker than that, like a more of a premium style t-shirt. And I've looked at the prices between like the classic, just like the lower end shirts, and then the premium shirts, and it's honestly not that big of a difference. So I'm going to order some of the premium stuff to myself first, make sure that the quality is good. So if you guys do decide to purchase any of this stuff, that you're going to be getting a decent quality shirt rather than just the cheapest thing on the market, so that I can have the biggest markup or whatever, you know what I mean? I'd rather definitely, because that's how merch works, in case you guys don't know. I'm sure you do know, but like all of the YouTubers out there and everything, if they're using like Teespring, if they're using like Printify or any of these print to order, you have the base cost, let's say it's $10, and they sell it to you for like 30 or 40, and they make like $20 a shirt or whatever. To me, my margin, I'd rather have a smaller margin than have a bigger margin and then a shitty quality shirt that you guys are spending your hard-earned money on. So that's why it's taking a little bit longer, and this stuff's going to be launched in hopefully a month. I'm hoping by the end of August, maybe mid-September. We'll wait and see. So that's the first sign. So Plume Network with the controller and the beer. And then we got this one here. This is just like the basic Plume Network design. I'll put this on a t-shirt, most likely just a t-shirt for this one, and if that's something that interests you, you guys can purchase that one. It'll be in multiple colors. And then we got this one, which I think is another very cool piece of art, and it represents Plume Network, the community, obviously represents Gears of War, which is one of my favorite franchises of all time, probably my top 3 favorite franchises of all time. And then it represents me, the big Plume, with the smiling face, and kind of how I'm trying to create a positive community here. And then the contrast between like how dark Gears is with the explosion in the back, probably some locusts running at him, and then just smiling there in full Gears armor. And again, this one's going to come in a t-shirts. I think only really a t-shirt for this one, but it'll be in multiple colors, like white, black, maybe a green for like an Xbox, and maybe a gray. I'm not sure yet, but yeah. So those are the 3 designs that I'm going to be putting out for merch. And yeah, I mean, just let me know what you guys think about this. Let me know if this type of style is what you would wear, and if it isn't, let me know that as well. It doesn't really make me feel bad. It doesn't make me feel sad or anything if you think it's bad, or if it's not something you would wear. But I just want to give you guys a quick sneak peek of what will be coming if any of you are interested in purchasing some merch. All right, so to end off this week's Plumecast, I want to talk about a couple of smaller things when it has to do with Xbox. One is bigger than the other, but the first one here is that within the Alpha Skip Ahead program, there is a new Xbox Night Mode. Now, Tom Warren put out a video kind of showing it off, and within the preferences section of your Xbox, you're going to be able to adjust a couple of things. You're going to be able to adjust the blue light filter of your screen, which is a pretty big deal, especially because if you've seen like studies and how bad blue light is for your eyes, how bad it is to stare at a screen before you go to bed. Reducing that blue light, I think, is going to help a lot of people. I know for me personally, I'm terrible at sleeping. Like I don't have restful sleeps very often. I wake up very early because I have to, but also because I just don't sleep well. And probably a big contributor to that is just the blue light, the amount of blue light I look at before I go to bed from the last second I go to bed, I'm always looking at a screen, and I know that needs to change. And a lot of it is playing video games. Like I play video games. That's when I get most of my gaming in, is at the end of the night once I'm done all my work, where I can sit back for a little bit and play games, and then I go to bed. And I will probably end up using this just to see if it helps my overall sleep and if it makes me fall asleep easier. Because generally, like I said, the last thing I do before I go to bed, the last thing I turn off for to go to bed is my Xbox. And if this is going to help me sleep better, hey, I'm all for that. Then there is also the ability to adjust the actual lighting of the Xbox button on both your console and on your controller. And it looks like you're going to be able to have like an accent to your color on for your Xbox console for the theme itself. In the background, you can have a dark mode theme, but you can actually put an accent to the color itself. And you're going to be able to put a schedule. So you're going to be able to make your Xbox automatically go into night mode at a certain time and then be off of night mode in a certain time. A small little upgrade to the actual quality of life to the Xbox consoles, but I think for a lot of people, it's something that they have been wanting. It is here now. And if you play games at night, if you play games completely in the dark at night, not only will the blue light filter help be nice, I think the actual brightness of the Xbox logo on both the controller and the console will be a nice addition. And the next thing I want to talk about here is something that seems pretty unfortunate, and I hope Xbox works this out sooner rather than later. But it seems like Xbox developers are now going to need to pay for Unity, but it's going to be free with both PlayStation and the Nintendo Switch. So it says here that Unity has changed its terms of service, or its terms, saying that a pro license or preferred platform license key will be needed to continue developing games for Xbox, something that Microsoft reportedly does not offer to developers. So this came from Gamasutra, and they say that keys are gifted to developers for Nintendo and Sony, but Microsoft doesn't offer that same privilege, and that now, going forward, if they wanted to use Unity to develop games for Xbox, they're going to have to spend $1,800 per year, which would be a major turnoff if you're a small indie developer. You definitely would not want to put your indie game using Unity on an Xbox platform, because that's just a major free write-off of the bat. But a Microsoft spokesperson spoke as well about these changes, but they didn't confirm whether they will be issuing this preferred license key program to developers, saying, "We will continue to work with our development partners and engine providers, including Unity, to determine how to best support creators on Xbox. Microsoft is deeply committed to independent developers, and with our prioritization of the community, accelerating, ensuring they have a clear path to success on Xbox and Windows." So I'm not sure. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, especially from Xbox's point of view with their ID at Xbox showcases and how many indie games go onto Xbox Game Pass and all that kind of stuff. Maybe if they're working at some sort of deal with indie developers saying like, hey, put your game on Xbox Game Pass and we'll cover the fee to develop it on Unity. I'm not sure, but I hope at some point that this all gets worked out, because I think this may deter a lot of indie developers who use Unity to get their games onto an Xbox platform. Now, in general, like I don't know the exact amount of like major games that were made with Unity. There's probably a major list out there, but I'm just go on their website right now, and they give you kind of an overview of some of the games, and there's some decent ones in here, like Escape from Tarkov, which is a very popular game, although I don't think that is even on Xbox, made with Unity. Got Hollow Knight. I mean, that's an extremely well received and popular game made with Unity. You got a Cuphead. Cuphead's made with Unity, so that's a major game. So I mean, I hope they get this worked out. I hope this isn't something that they decide to like not address, and I hope it doesn't affect too many indie developers, but we'll have to wait and see. And for all we know, this could just be something that gets worked out within the next week or so or whatever. And going through some of the comments here, there seems like people kind of grasp it more than I do. Maybe you guys out there do as well. But this guy's saying here that it was previously offered through XDK, so Unity's change here has rendered that useless. I'm sure they'll sort it out. It's not like they didn't offer a solution in the past. Still seems like a headache for the moment. So this seems like this is more on Unity's end. And then this guy here says again that the thing is, if a developer has access to Unity even through a PPLK provided by Sony and Nintendo, this basically doesn't affect them. And a lot do just have their own subscriptions. Microsoft will need to come to a new licensing agreement with Unity, since clearly Unity pulled the rug out from under XDK, but at the moment is probably not too huge of an issue, since this will only really affect games that aren't approved yet, or developers that want to only make an Xbox game and don't have a key from elsewhere. Either way, like you said, just a pretty normal legal issue. It's not like they chose to lose the support they offered. It was Unity's decision to change the rules and barely tell anyone about it. So if what he's saying is correct there, this is just a legal and contract issue that Xbox probably didn't see coming. And now they're going to have to work out some sort of new deal to make sure that this goes away, or whatever they have to do. So I don't think, it doesn't make any sense, like I said, for Xbox to not want to support the developers using Unity, especially indie developers, as how hard of a push they have with ID at Xbox and all the indie games that come onto Game Pass, all the indie games that they highlight. So I think this will be worked out in due time. But for now, hey, it's not the greatest thing in the world, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. This was a shorter Plumecast in terms of topics, less topics. There was a pretty not eventful week, and a lot of the stuff I talked about in my videos throughout the week. So if there's some other stuff that you're looking to hear about, make sure to go check out my videos throughout the week. I may have covered it there. But again, thank you guys all for stopping by, listening every single week. Thank you for helping me get to 5K subscribers and helping me continue to grow this community and to grow this channel. I'm so excited for the future of Plume Network. Honestly, like, I wake up every single morning and I'm just excited to make videos for you guys and then interact in the comments and see all your opinions and everything like that. So again, thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you throughout the week in my videos and next week on the Plumecast.